All right, I'm having a visit from my son in a few minutes, so I just do want to quickly go over adding and subtracting decimals. So the procedure is right here. You'll probably remember when you add or subtract decimals, you have to line up the decimal points. You put extra zeros anywhere you might need them to help you add or subtract. Okay, so you add or subtract all the digits with the same place value starting at the right, just like you add or subtract just regular numbers. You borrow or you carry, depending if you're adding and subtracting. And the decimal point in the answer goes directly below the decimal points that you have lined up in your two numbers that you're either adding or subtracting. So here's what that's going to look like. Now, remember, it doesn't matter what order you add or subtract numbers in, so just so you know. Well, actually, it does matter what order you subtract in. My bad. It doesn't matter what order you add in. So I'm going to put this 37 first, and remember the decimal left is really right there. And then I'm going to do 5.62, and you have to line up the decimals, which tells me I'm going to throw a couple of zeros here just to make everything line up nicely. And then 0.4 is going to go right underneath, and I'm going to throw a 0 there. And I'm going to add those up. So the decimal in my answer is going to come down and be right there. So now I start at the right, add all of these up, you're going to get a 2. Add these up, you get a 10. Carry the 1. 8 plus 5 is 13. Carry the 1. Your answer is 43.02. So the key is line up the decimals. All right, let's do the same thing here. Always write them vertically. Now I'm going to line up the decimals, and I'm going to subtract. I'm going to throw a 0 here. Technically, you don't have to, but I just like it there. The decimal in my answer is going to come right and be right there. So 9 minus 0 is 9. 3 minus 8, I have to borrow from the 4, which leaves 3, making this a 13. So 13 minus 8 is 5. And 23 minus 5 is 18. So it's 18 point, kind of looks like it's not in the right place, 18.59. Now don't forget about your positives and negatives here. Be careful. So you have to remember, whenever you're subtracting numbers, you change the subtraction sign to addition and change the sign of the second number so you know that minus a negative is still plus a positive. So now we have to think, okay, I have two numbers with different signs and I'm adding them. But since the signs are different, in actuality, you subtract them. These are all your rules for positives and negatives. And then don't forget the sign of your answer is the sign of the largest absolute value, which is this one. So our answer is going to be a negative number. So I've lined up my decimals. 9 minus 5 is 4. I'm going to have to borrow 1, making this a 13. So 13 minus 4 is 9. And 11 minus 8 is 3. But again, it's going to have to be negative 3.94. So all those rules that we have for positives and negatives still apply. How about number 2? Let's throw some algebra into this. So it says we're going to combine like terms. So remember, like terms are terms that have the exact same variable part. So we're going to combine those two numbers. So I'm going to, over here, do 6.1 plus 4.5, lining up my decimals. So my decimal and my answer will be right here. 1 plus 5 is 6, and 6 plus 4 is 10. So when I combine these two like terms, I'm going to get 10.6a and then minus 2.3b. You can't combine those because they are not like terms. Look at number 3. It's been a while since we've evaluated. Remember my two words for that were plug and chug. So all I'm going to do is here I'm given that y is negative 5.68. So I'm going to plug it in. So I'm going to have negative 5.68 plus 4.36. Let's again remember our rules for adding. If I'm adding two numbers with different signs, I subtract the absolute values. So I'm actually going to do 5.68 minus 4.36. I'm lining up my decimals. So I'm subtracting. 8 minus 6 is 2. 6 minus 3 is 3. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Now, because this number had the largest absolute value, that means that my answer is going to be negative. So it's negative 1.32. All right, finally, let's do our one-story problem here. So look, it says over a 4-week period, Dean spent the following amounts at the dry cleaners. And you can see his amounts here. Estimate the total cost for the month. Now, when we estimate, it means we're going to round first and then add. You don't add them and then round. Estimating basically means you want to try to be able to do the problem in your head. So that would be ridiculous if we added all of them as they were and then we rounded that answer. That's not what we want to do. So for an estimate here, I would think we would just simply want to round these to the nearest dollar. So $8.87. Well, that's closer to $9 than $8, I hope you can see. And again, if we just round it to the nearest dollar, if you go 1 to the right, that 8's going to make that a 9, and then those two numbers turn into 0, so $9. $7.49. Well, it's barely closer to 7, but that's actually closer to $7 than $8. Because again, if you rounded it to the nearest dollar, that 4 doesn't do anything to that 7. $9.59 is closer to $10. Because again, if I go 1 to the right, that 5 is going to make that into a 10. And $5.57 is closer to $6 for the same reason. So if I'm estimating what he paid for the month, I would simply add these together. Well, 9 plus 7 is 16. 10 plus 6 is also 16. Add those together. A good estimate is $32. Now, just for fun, let's actually add the numbers and let's see, just for extra practice, and let's see how close we were with our estimate. So notice how I lined up my decimals. So here we go. If I'm going to add these, that's 16 plus 16, so that's 32. Carry my 3. That's 11. Plus 4 is 15, plus 10 is 25. Carry my 2. My decimal goes here. 2 plus 8 is 10, 17, 26, 31. So look, he actually spent $31.52. We estimated at 32. That's a pretty darn good estimate if I do say so myself. And there's the end of 8.2.